Hello and welcome back to Weeknight Hero. As always, I'm your GM, Evan. Now, with Road to Character Creation done, one might wonder, what's the rest of the video going to be about on this YouTube channel? Of course, we still have the podcast going on, but with the explosive response I've gotten to the videos made with Road to Character Creation, I wanted to find creative ways to put out more educational videos for fans of Mutants and Masterminds. So while I'm putting out the other videos on the other aspects of the game, I thought I'd do these as a fun little side project. And what is that project, you might ask? Well, it is character write-ups. So it goes along with the frequently asked questions: how would I make a certain character? How would I make character X? What would character Y look like in the Mutants and Masterminds universe? Also, how would I create certain powers? How do certain powers work? How do I distinguish and how do I choose the one that I want? So I balled all these up to a fun and inventive concept. So rather than me going down the dictionary and listing every single possible variation on powers, I thought I would do it this way. I'm going to create memorable characters that I'm sure you've all heard of, write them up as if they were characters in the Mutants and Masterminds setting, and explain and interpret their powers and tactics so that we can hit all three of those bullet points. So which characters are kicking off the superhero write-up series? Now, these guys are very near and dear to my heart, and more importantly, very near and dear to my husband's heart. We're kicking the series off with the Vision and Scarlet Witch from the Vision and Scarlet Witch miniseries, a lot of which was adapted into the WandaVision series on Disney+. So let's kick it off with my husband's favorite character, the Scarlet Witch. If you're not familiar with the Vision and Scarlet Witch miniseries, it mostly details their average, ordinary life in suburban New Jersey, much like WandaVision. And while there, hijinks ensue in the form of, supervillains that are related to the characters, meeting other magicians, having Agatha Harkness return, and it really serves to flesh out two characters that don't get a ton of time to shine in the regular Avengers series. So with that, the level of threats that they deal with aren't quite the same level as Kang the Conqueror, which means I would translate this into a lower power level, somewhere around 8 or 9, but with the number of powers Wanda has, we're going to plant this firmly in power level 9. She's not stopping intergalactic wars in this one. She's dealing mostly with spirits on Halloween and throwing dinner parties with Magneto. So what are some of the things we notice when we take a look at Wanda's character? Well, as is common with magic or sort of energy controlling characters, her abilities and her skills suffer just a little bit. Now, in the abilities area, she's pretty average across the board. That comes with a lot of the Avengers training. She has developed the skills necessary to be aware of and deal with a number of threats. While she is mostly an average human being with a little bit of training, she does have powers in key areas, such as will, or with her force field power and her defensive role providing a bonus to toughness, that lets her stay active on the field and not get taken out very early. All of that, I feel, comes from that Avengers training and a lot of experience in combat. However, her defenses, pretty low for the power level. One thing you'll note with a character like Wanda is she can dish it out like crazy. There's evidence in the comics that she's the one who normally does damage when none of the other characters can. But to balance that out, she's not very strong defensively. She's not fast. She's not coordinated enough to avoid a lot of attacks. So, of course, she should be far enough away from direct combat as possible. This is also reflected in her skills. She does not use a lot of combat-oriented skills, not athletics, not acrobatics. For the most part, she is limited to perception, insight, deception, persuasion, just the standard social powers that allow her to avoid threats. Keyword is avoid. What we're doing here is not getting into a direct, all-out slugfest. She's very much a team player, and she needs to be protected a little bit. Another important thing to note is that expertise magic skill, combined with the ritualist advantage, allows her to cast ritual spells. However, it's not incredibly strong. In fact, it's somewhat of an adequate expertise magic skill, which reflects the comics. She's still growing into her magic, and there's plenty of things that she doesn't know yet. As we continue into the advantages, being a power-focused character, she is at a significant deficit in combat advantages. That's for a reason. All these things tell you that Wanda should not be fighting up close, especially with that disarming advantage, which is found in the Hero High sourcebook, allows her to spend a hero point, which she gains from that luck advantage, and force an opponent to make a will save. If they fail the will save, they pull their punch on her and do significantly less damage than they normally would. All of these things kind of tell you that she should not be taking hits, though if she does have that last-minute advantage. Also of note are that extraordinary effort and untapped potential sort of duality that I like to include in characters like this, where she can output a dangerously high amount of power for just a moment. That reflects in a lot of these characters in Marvel, where when push comes to shove, they can do amazing things if they don't mind being severely weakened afterwards. And that gives Wanda a ton of versatility. Finally, we come to the powers, the biggest portion of her character sheet. It takes up an entire other page, and it is filled with the numerous abilities that the Scarlet Witch has. In general, she has a number of incredibly powerful attacks, especially that big Chaos Wave and Chaos Beam powers. She can hit multiple opponents at once with these powerful attacks. Now, she's going to be dishing out most of the damage with Vision backing her up in several areas. And that Hex Bolt, that Jinx, and that Poltergeist power, where you start to see Wanda's latent magical gifts coming into focus, where she can start altering and manipulating reality to a small extent. You also see it with the Spontaneous Decay and the Suppress powers. Wanda's all about the big, flashy powers that can take down or knock out multiple people at once. Next, we come to Wanda's husband, the Vision, and as we go into his character a little more, you'll start to see that these two characters sort of back each other up, and they cover each other's weaknesses in the fact that Vision is a lot more physical in the way that he fights. If we're going to look at Wanda as a little more of a magic character, you can see the Vision as a little more of a fighter in the fact that he has stances, like he flips his power set from either being incredibly dense or being very not dense, and that affects the way that powers work with him. He has several skills that Wanda doesn't have, and with that density increased power, when he's dense, he's a perfect brawling character, so he can fight and defend Wanda, especially with that interpose advantage. Or he can be incredibly light and provide the maneuverability that Wanda needs. He can use that agile feint and redirect power to harm opponents or distract them for long enough. Wanda can land that big finishing blow. And as many of her powers are perception ranged, and because she lacks in a very strong sense power, if she can't see it, she cannot affect that. That means that her powers are severely hampered by characters that she can't perceive or characters that she ordinarily can't attack, such as insubstantial characters. That's where Vision comes in. With his incredibly talented sensory powers, he can see the characters that Wanda can't, and it's just a matter of him revealing their location, and she can, bam, knock them out. Finally, with Wanda being a normal human being with some very potent magical powers, the Vision's machine body and immunity to mental attacks means that the things that would knock Wanda out do not knock him out, and that allows him to be a better defender and a better fighter in unison with her. So the strategy with them is Wanda blasts the stuff. Vision sets up attacks for Wanda and keeps opponents off of Wanda. That's something you see plenty in the miniseries. They make excellent use of that teamwork advantage package, and both of their powers synergize with each other so well that they're a formidable unit. But that about wraps it up for this first superhero write-up series. Did you like it? Let me know what you think. I plan on doing it for plenty of characters in the coming days, weeks, months, years. So if there's a character you definitely want to see, drop it in the comment section and I'll be happy to take a look at it. But that wraps it up for this video. If you haven't seen WandaVision, highly recommend it. It made me cry almost every episode and it was totally worth it. As always, I'm your GM Evan, and I'll see you guys later.